What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks, alright? Let's get straight right into it. So you already know, last night was again a rematch of, was a home and home stay situation for the Philadelphia and Toronto Raptors. Basically, Toronto Raptors home for both games, right? And they didn't move, didn't do nothing. Felt like like playoffs where it's like game 1, game 2. That's what some of these games are feeling like, obviously due to the COVID restrictions, where they don't want to, have so much different travel so much. Sometimes there's going to be games where you play the same team twice. It's not going to be home here and home there. It's going to be you both play the same team in the same gym, 2 straight games and all that type of stuff. So that happens. That's been happening, a little bit throughout the season, obviously. And so, this was expected. But Philadelphia looked at it as a rematch, as, let's come back. There's no way we're losing twice to this team. Let's come back. Let's try and, get some revenge and just come back with a vengeance and, showcase that, we're number 1 seed. Like, what are y'all talking about, right? So you could see even how they came out. They came out more so like ready to attack, hitting all their shots. They came out with a different type of energy, obviously, right? So with that said, the Raptors obviously had a little bit of a struggle from the 3-point line and all that type of stuff. And it was a contrast, different game, a whole 360 flip of a game compared to last game. But you already know, let's go into the context, because I give you that context. Let's go straight right into it, boy. It's a blowout, so we're not going into the full clips. You already know. So we're gonna have some little bit of serious things to talk about. Obviously, when we talk about the Raptors first, there's a little bit of a struggle on especially on, not a little bit, they struggled from the 3-point line. As you can see, they struggled. Pascal eventually ended up being 9 for 18, but he did struggle earlier on, right? He struggled. He still had 7 assists and 3 steals, which he played good. Like the small ball, it wasn't too much of an issue. Like, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? What happened was their offense just was digressed. That's why they didn't score as much. They only scored 102 late, but they were struggling. Even in third quarter, they were having like 69 and stuff like that. They weren't high potent offense. They were struggling, right? They only shot 11 for 37, 30%, 29.7%, 30% from 3. Which, is not elite. 40 is elite. At worst, you do like high 30s, right? That's not elite at all. Only 11 threes, right? So that's going to come back to obviously bite you, especially when you take a lot. You take 37, right? And they take 38 and they make 17. They make 45% of their threes. That's where the drastic difference was. A lot of it was in the shooting, right? From the shooting category. So when you look at it from that perspective, that's something that's not always going to be an issue for the Raptors. They're going to shoot well. They're going to shoot bad. Obviously, that happens. But, it's just more so, it was just a bad night. You know what I'm saying? It was a bad night. OG 4 for 13. Powell 9 for 19. Van Vliet 4 for 14. Only Pascal shot 50%. And Baines 5 for 10. And Pascal 9 for 18, right? But, Boucher played well as well, 4 for 6. But, like TD 4 for 9. Like, they struggled, right? And not only that, it was mainly that and the free throw disparity, right? The Philadelphia 76ers shot 26 for 30 from the free throw line. 26 free throws made, while the Raptors are 11 for 13. They only went to the line. And the Raptors don't go to the line a lot. It's not like, oh my God, the fouls were fugazi. Obviously, some of it were, whatever. Like, but Philadelphia, they draw fouls. Embiid has that art. He's like Harden at the big man position where he sweeps through, he draws fouls, and a lot of type of stuff. They did get the favorable whistle at times, I thought. But that's going to happen sometimes. But this disparity was obviously a big disparity. But that's what happens when you punish inside, right? You're going to have more of a free throw disparity, right? Raptors don't really punish inside. There is some non-calls like the Norman Powell one, right? Like, that was reckless. So you could see how I could see where people are thinking the refs had a hidden agenda, or like, it's like Philly needs to get this win today, type of thing. Like, that's a blatant foul. They didn't call it, obviously, right? But other than those things, like, this was already, even without the calls, was an off day for the Raptors. It doesn't mean they were gonna lose, out the gate, but they kind of were in a hole, right? They were in a hole even just to start the game without fouls even being in the play, right? They had to push their way and come back. Raptors normally do come back, but you're digging yourself a hole, and obviously not every time you are down in a hole, you're going to come back and actually win the game, especially versus a number 1 seed and an actually solid, good team, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, like, it was one of those. I still don't fully believe in Philly. I'm not like, oh, this is a terrible loss for the Raptors. Like, the fact that they even beat them 1 out of 2 is obviously a great thing. The fact that they even came back, that's what I kind of looked at. The fact that the Raptors came back and pushed back and unclouded back even without Lowry, who's their heart and soul, was something that is a positive sign. So I didn't really find too many. There's negatives, obviously, but overall, it was a positive sign when I look at this game and how it transpired. The fact that they even came back, like, that's something that, especially in this, the fact that they came back and the fact that they locked up Embiid is the two things that I look at that I'm like, this small ball lineup could actually work. Obviously, Baines was playing, right? He played a decent amount of minutes. He played a lot of minutes. He played 30 minutes. So obviously, Baines is playing and he's putting girth and kind of like, at least put in a big body on Embiid. And they did do small ball, but they broke away from it more so, as you could tell by obviously the Baines minutes. But Raptors, are Raptors the actual kryptonite for Embiid? Like, again, I'm not worried too much about the Raptors too much in this situation. The fact that they lost, right? They're going to lose, right? Like I said. But again, the fact that they came back, the fact that they pushed, they kept fighting to the end, and it ended up being a 6-point game. In the fourth quarter, they had to call timeout, and then obviously out the timeout, 3-3-3 or layup, whatever, Tobias and all that, and it kind of broke away. But the fact that it even came to that point, the fact that, like, it even became like a battle, free throw game and whatever, like, you were, and then a lot of it had to do with, again, like I said, the Philadelphia's poise. Like, I don't trust Philly. Only way Philly, to me, is going to beat a team, like, where I could be like, I trust them, is like if they blow them out. And even if they blow out a team, like, their poise has always been fugazi. Like, if you really know, then you know. Their poise has always been fugazi. They'll always start doing the most dumbest turnovers, not playing smart, and just playing fugazi, and the other team always comes back. The Celtics did that shit even the first series they ever played. Then the other, like, they've been doing that all the time. They've been in those situations. And, like, obviously, this is the bigger question. This is the more serious conversation where it's about Embiid, right? Embiid does struggle with the Raptors. Like, you see him eat versus every other team, and this is not a situation where that's where I have troubles with Embiid. And it's like, this is not a situation where he's supposed to be struggling. Like, the Raptors don't have bigs like that. They don't have, elite lineup, like, when in terms of the bigs. Like, he should be breaking their chest and going to work, right? And he should be killing and doing what he shot 3 for 13. Obviously, imagine he didn't, both games, imagine he didn't shoot free throws. Like, he had 18 and 12. Obviously, you look at the stats, 18 and 12, that's great. But no, that's like, he's been averaging 30 this season. Right? So he always does his worst versus the Raptors. And that, to me, again, like, this is if it was the old Raptors with Gasol, it's like, okay, kryptonite. But there's no Gasol. There's no Ibaka, right? And even then, he normally breaks Ibaka's chest, but it's Gasol. There's no Gasol, right? So it, like, you got to understand, look, so when he was struggling versus Celtics, he was saying, oh my God, it's Horford. It's because it's Horford. Okay. Horford was on his team now. Now you're facing the Raptors. Oh, it's because it's Gasol. Like, how many times is it going to be because it's this? Because it's, when are we ever going to look at the actual person themselves and say, this is Fugazi? Because it's only big pressure games or big pressure moments versus those teams that the struggle happens. It's like, there's no reason, especially the fact that Gasol left, there's no reason. There's no kryptonite on this team for you. There's no kryptonite. Obviously, Raptors will throw in a double team and doing this and do that. But regardless, your percentages are low. Your takes and your body language looks fugazi, right? So it's not like I dislike Embiid. Embiid, if anything, play style-wise and ability-wise, is someone who I would like because, I like and I appreciate Arsenal. I'm a purist, so I appreciate Arsenal. I appreciate ability. I appreciate all those type of things, right? And that's something that Embiid has, especially at the big man position. Like, the fact that he could do things that some guards can't do, right? He could do all these type of things. He could Euro, he has elite ability. Like, no one could watch Embiid and be like, oh, he doesn't have elite ability. He has elite ability. But the issue for me with Embiid is not just the fact that he has the ability, it's more so the mental game and the mental aspect in terms of Joel Embiid on this high tier echelon that everybody puts him on. His ability it's not that everybody puts him on. His ability and arsenal, naturally, just from the eye test, he's already on this top tier echelon. Like, he's already flirting with the best big, just when you just look at him, right? The best center in the league. Obviously, him, Jokic, and Towns mainly, right? You got Vukovic is in the making, right? People want to put Rudy Gobert, but his ability is not there. Defensively, he is, but his ability, he's not there, right? So, but you have those type of bigs, right, that you're looking at, right? And when you look at it, it's just like, yo, Christian Wood is one of them as well, right? When you look at it, it's like his ability, his eye test, everything's gonna put him there as probably the number one big, especially now MVP candidate. His team's actually winning, all of that type of stuff. He's still in the MVP because MVP doesn't equate playoffs. So I agree too. Right now, he's the number one favorite for MVP. I agree, obviously, right? But for me, I look at it bigger picture. I don't just look at it as MVP and whatever. Like, MVP is more so situational, right? But I look at it as, what do you do when it matters in terms of big games in the regular season, in terms of not just big games, in those clutch moments, right? And then I can kind of foresee how you would kind of move in playoff time. Obviously, it's different context. You know, certain guys don't ramp it up. Like regular season, yeah. And then you ramp it up playoff time. Like, that's like KD's, Kyrie's, right? Even LeBron and, you know, all of these other guys, right? You look at it as like, playoffs, you can kind of foresee what they're going to be. But the ones that more so, like, perfect example, like Joel Embiid has that Harden type of play to me. And not obviously play style, but mental aspect, right? What I mean by that is Harden, don't look at him with the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets, he's probably going to even thrive more. Like, there's not pressure. There's different, like, when you're in a big three and you're not like the main guy, it falls all on your shoulders if it doesn't work. Like, they're more so looking at KD, Kyrie first before they look at Harden. Harden's more so, you already know what he is. He's an addition, right? It's not like, oh, everything's on Harden. It's, you know, do or die Harden. What are you doing? You better carry. Like, it's not like that. He actually has no pressure, free pressure situation, and you're going to see him probably play at his most elite he's ever played, right? Now, I'm talking about the Harden in Houston where he's the guy. You have to show up. If they don't win, it's on your shoulders. It's not on the other guys. It's on you. Every time, it's always on you. You better perform. You better, like, every given night, the weight is on your shoulders. The spotlight is on you. What do you do when it matters, right? That kind of pressure, that kind of bright lights and kind of, you know, atmosphere is a complete different lights and context that's on you. Not everybody can thrive in that situation. Only the rare few can. And that's where I'm looking at Embiid from that light, from that perspective, because Harden, when he was with Houston, yes, there's games he played well and all that type of stuff. But majority of the times when you look at it, in a clutch situation, in a big game situation, important, like those biggest times, Harden did not come through. If anything, he failed, right? He failed. You can see him, his body language will be different. He'll make more so bad decisions. He'll get a turnover. He'll, instead of him being aggressive, the same Harden you would see doing this, like you see with Brooklyn in the clutch, step back, like those ones that you're seeing him do versus Phoenix and whatever. He wasn't doing that, like, with that kind of energy and that kind of body language in those moments. He kind of just did it sometimes because he had to, or a lot of times he'll go, then kick out pass to Ariza last second, pass to this person last second. Like, he didn't move the way you would expect him to move. Not about the misses. It's just the way he moved. It wasn't the same. So you could tell the mental game, it was different. It looked like more so it was nerves. It looked like more so it was pressure. That's what it looked like. When you move different than you normally move during the regular season, that's not fatigue. It's more so the pressure. Only time it's fatigue is if, like, you're killing throughout the whole game and then, like, you're panting and your shots are short. But I'm talking about how you even move, the type of takes you even take. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the same thing you always hear me preach and talk about with Pascal. You heard me say that with DeRozan. Harden had that, but he was more top tier talent that it didn't look like how they looked, obviously. Like, it wasn't complete 360. It was like, you know, 180, like it was, you know what I mean, type of turnaround. Like, oh, he looks like this and then he looks like this here. And regardless, the talent is still top tier. That's what I see from Embiid. But I even see from a lower scale than what I see from Harden, because I've seen Embiid, like, 3 for 13. Like, Harden at least, like actually, I can't even say that because there's times that Harden does do that. You know what I mean? But I've seen him get more 30-point games than I've seen Embiid do it, right? Like, I just, like, again, like, from the history that I've seen and the context that I've seen with Embiid, him being that guy to be the go-to or whatever and all that type of stuff, they only thrived when Butler became the go-to. But all the other times when it's Embiid, like, in the moments in the fourth quarter, I don't just see him snap. I don't see him take over. I don't see that clutch ability. I don't see that, yo, move out my way. It's my time. I don't see that. I see more, okay, we have to give it to you because you're that guy. And then he gets it. And it's kind of like, it's like he doesn't want it. You can see it on his, like in his body language, even how he moves and how he jogs. Like he doesn't move aggressively like he moves in the other regular season. And that's the context that I see him move when he faces the Raptors. Like, it's like he psychologically has like trauma with the whole game 7, right? Like, or he's just so used to anytime you face Toronto, elite Kryptonite, like elite Gasol, like, you know, he's so used to that now even when Baines is on him, like you know what I mean? It's kind of like his body language, even when he faces the Raptors, it doesn't look like the Embiid I see on ESPN national games versus the Wizards versus this other team versus, you know what I mean? Like that's not the Embiid I see. I'm just being real, and that's one of the reasons why I don't believe in the Philadelphia 76ers, no matter what their seed is. They could be 70-10. They have to prove to me. It's more so I'm giving them the context that I give Milwaukee Bucks. Your best players, it's not just the ability. Obviously, Embiid is not equivalent to Giannis in terms of ability. Like, Embiid's ability translates to playoffs. That's not the issue. But the mental aspect from both of them is the same, because one mental aspect from Giannis is his mental aspect is more so fugazi in the clutch and in the fourth quarter and all those big moments because of his lack of ability. He doesn't trust his ability. Like, now that you force him to, now he can't perform that ability, go through those guaranteed things. You cut that off. What can he do now? And that's where it's more so palms is sweaty. He doesn't have nothing to go to. And that's where mentally it looks like he's nervous, and he is, because if I can't go to my bread and butter, what can I do? Can I still create? Can I still force the issue? No, you now are passing. It's now the teammates, and you're just out there, right? That's Giannis's context, right? But what happens is the similarity with Embiid is you underperform. You're not performing when it matters, right? That's what I look at it from Giannis. But from Embiid, he has the ability and has everything, but his mental game, he gets maybe through the pressure, through all of those things in that moment, he doesn't live up. His ability doesn't match the moment with the pressure and whatever the case is. He now gets turnovers. He now plays sloppy. He now, won't even do, always trying to drop foul, right? Not doing the same takes, the same shimmy up and under that he normally does in the earlier moments or in the regular games or whatever the case is. He doesn't move like that. So his more so is different. He's still like Giannis. Both of them are equivalent, and what I'm saying is because they both aren't producing and look more nervous in the clutch, right? The reasons why they do is different, but that's what's relevant with both of them, right? And that's where I look at it, and now that's like the main number one option guys from your team. So then now when they're moving like that, now it trickles down to the rest of the team. How can you now perform well when your number one option guys underperforming due to those reasons? For Giannis, different reasons. For Embiid, different reasons. But that's why the Bucks and the Sixers to me are the same. This is why in the playoffs I don't trust them. Who do you go to in the clutch? Who's gonna perform? You know what I'm saying? Can I trust, like, for Philly? Can I trust Tobias to be that caliber of guy every play, every possession, bucket, constant, multiple times? Can I trust the Bucks for Middleton every possession, multiple times when it matters, bucket, not just one time? Like, okay, he kicked it out this time, I hit it. No, it's going to you. It's going to you. It's going to you. It's going to you. That's what the superstars have, right? Do I really trust that? So both of those guys, they have lower, not top tier number one, top tier one closers on their team as the secondary guy. They have lower tier closers as their secondary guy. They can still close sometimes, but can you rely on it to be potent? And that's the questions that I have with Milwaukee and Philly. They are in the same boat, right? Not to mention Simmons can't shoot and has lack of ability, and then what's it called? Giannis is the same thing, right? So who do I really trust, right? So it's like, unless they blow out a team, like when it comes to real pressure, close, tight games, I'm not putting my money on Milwaukee. I'm not putting my money on Philadelphia. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but if I had to guess, I'm not rolling with them. They have to prove to me. I'm not giving them the benefit. I'm not giving them, like, if I haven't seen it, if I haven't seen it, normally, like, if you haven't seen this way or you haven't seen this way, if you haven't seen positive or you haven't seen negative, then you give them the benefit of the doubt and you give them positive based off what you see, which is regular season. I still don't really do it fully like that because I kind of just gauge who is who on your team, because I know regular season is completely different context. Playoff time is more pressure. It's more tight. People know your plays, all of that type of stuff. So the way you look in regular season is never going to be the same. Obviously, you get a 1-2 blowout. The other team came flat, whatever the case is, or the other team is nervous. But like when it's an actual good team versus good team, those kind of contexts get erased, right? It's more so good team versus good team, more so game plan, and more so chess, more so the elite will thrive, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, I don't really look at Philadelphia like Philadelphia hasn't shown me, or if a team hasn't shown me negative and hasn't shown me positive, then maybe I can somewhat give you the more so the hope, more so I think this is how they're gonna move, whatever, or we'll wait and see and whatever. But when you have shown me history of Fugazi, I will never give you the benefit of the doubt of, oh, this regular season they look better. No, this is how they're gonna. No. You always are I'm going to look at you, Fugazi, until you prove. You have to prove to me. Because your history has shown. It's the same team, the same context, the same guys. The history has showed you have been anus when it matters. Show me. So that's where I'm looking at. Doesn't mean they won't do it. That's not what I'm saying is law or whatever. Like, oh, just because, their history, it's not like they can't turn it around. They can. Anybody can. Right? Anyone can change history at the drop of a dime. Like, it's up to you. But again, this for me, it's harder for me to believe that it's going to happen because what I'm talking about isn't like an ability thing. Some of it is, but it's also a mental thing, a mental aspect / ability, right? So for Giannis, it's an ability thing. Is he just going to get a jump shot and do step backs all of a sudden? That's why I won't believe in it. And for Embiid and them, is Simmons going to just get the jump step back and all of a sudden start shooting? No, but also is Embiid all of a sudden going to just be like, you know what? No, I'm carrying and going to fight through the pressure. And it's a character thing, like, right? Like clutches, a lot of it is just your character makeup. And I just don't think, I'm just being honest, from what I've seen, like, it's hard for me to believe that Embiid has that cloth, that Dame, Kawhi, Booker, Kyrie, KD, like that different makeup where you don't get nervous in the clutch. If anything, you rise your level of play and you're like, you're you know what I mean? Like in those moments where it's like, that's what it is. You don't get nervous. Your palms aren't sweaty. If anything, your palms dry and your hands get, you know what I mean? Your hands get more so sticky. So your hands stick to the ball and you're ready, right? You get that powder, right? So it's like, that's how I look at it. And for me, it's like, I'm not like the regular people that kind of say, oh, this person could turn around and all of a sudden be clutch. I don't look at it like that. That's not how I look at it. And to me, that's cap, right? Obviously, you might get a little bit better. But when I mean clutch where you're guaranteed closer, like if you miss, we're surprised. To me, it's always about if you were that guy, you can't turn around to just be that guy. You're always that guy. Now, whether you missed those shots earlier on when you tried to take it and tried to be that guy, but the fact that you're able to take it, the fact that your palms weren't sweaty, the fact that you look like yourself and you just missed, that's where I'm like, okay, that guy's going to eventually turn it around because he's just going to get more comfortable and the game's going to slow down for him and whatever. The issue isn't nerves for him. The issue is just it's his first time on the scene, right? He just has to get familiar with like the sets, how the defense is playing him, just comfortability. That's different. Everybody goes through that, right? And the different breeds don't even need to go through that. They're just like that from the beginning. But for someone to be like palms sweaty, you're nervous, you're turning over the ball, you're kicking the ball, you look fugazi, right? And then all of a sudden you're now a closer like your Dame or whatever. That doesn't ever happen, right? The reason why it doesn't ever happen is because in that moment, those earlier moments, the fact that your palms are sweaty already means that you don't have it. Because if you had it, your palms would never be sweaty. That's not the issue. Your palms will never be sweaty in those moments. If you really have, that will never happen to you. It's like seeing someone like who's basically saying he's a fighter. All of a sudden, you just don't fight. If you're a fighter, you're always gonna fight. That you not fighting will never happen. You might lose a fight, but you not fighting will never happen. That's your makeup. That's how clutch looks. That's how you look at it when it comes to clutch. Like the fact that your palms was sweaty multiple times and for a while, like you're not ever gonna just turn it around. You might slightly get better, yes, but for you to just turn it around, that's cap. You know what I'm saying? And that's why LeBron more so palms. When we talk about LeBron's palms was sweaty and was more nervous and other factors. But earlier in his career, if you go look at it, he was clutch when he didn't have to think and whatever the case is and not pressure and whatever. The difference is for LeBron is completely like his deep level, right? That's why you could see him sometimes be clutch, sometimes not. So, you know what I mean? Obviously, everyone sometimes is clutch, sometimes not. But in terms of his aggression, in terms of how he moves, right? you could see it's like night and day sometimes. It's like, you know what I mean? Because it's not like he doesn't ever had it. He didn't ever had it. He had it, but now with brighter lights, with this, it's different. His is more so deep level. But these other guys don't even perform when there's no pressure. They're not even clutch. So that's completely different. You know what I mean? It's completely different. So, you know what I mean? It is what it is. That's kind of like my deep dive, especially with Embiid. I wanted to take time to talk about Embiid, even though we faced the Raptors. Like the Raptors, I'm not really worried about, right? I told you, they're going to be this mediocre, medium of the pack, 5, 6 seed and all that type of stuff. That's where they're going to probably fall out and land, right? They can increase. We'll see. But this is where I see them now. We'll see if they try to get any moves like in the buyout market and there's going to be guys available. We'll see if they try and get somebody to try and help them, maybe a big that doesn't, you don't have to go through trades and stuff like that. We'll see how they kind of go. But, my next video is coming as well where I'm going to be talking about, the All-Star reserves were released yesterday. And I'm going to talk about the Raptors get snubbed with a player, should have gotten the player being the 5th seed and just other snubs in general. So you already know. Stay tuned. You already know I appreciate y'all. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here and there's no drought here. You feel me? It's true talks. Because true talks. You already know I appreciate y'all. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. You got to love it, man. They play the Heat today, so we'll see. That's going to be a tough game. The Heat are starting to groove and, starting to roll slowly and slowly. They finally got healthy, getting all their guys back. They still don't have Hero, but majority of their guys have came back. Remember, they had COVID issues and injury issues early to start, so they weren't healthy. So their record is capped. So, again, you have Miami that could also jump in the standings as well, too, right? You have there's a lot of things that might correct itself in the couple of weeks and after the All-Star break. So we'll see. Like, the Raptors can't get complacent and just chill over 5th seed now. Like, that can stay. You could drop it anytime. Right? So you already know. We'll see how they play today. And this time they could definitely go small ball. Bams, we're going to be, at the 5, right? So you got to love it. Anyways, I appreciate y'all. And I'm out, man.